I won't sit here and pretend that balancing a fighting game is an easy task. It's obviously a very tricky and often tedious process. However, since I did see a bunch of people online discussing ways to improve Mortal Kombat 11, I thought I'd take the time to share my simple solutions for how to make this game that much better. Now, if you happen to agree with any of my ideas, please leave a like down below and feel free to share this video around. Without any further ado, let's get started. So I think one of the first things that could be looked at is the breakaway mechanic. So the breakaway is both godlike and terrible at the same time, which I know sounds confusing, but I promise to elaborate. Even though this game has been out for a year already, I still see a lot of players, including pro players while they stream, wonder why their breakaway doesn't come out during a match, because sometimes you just don't get it. And that happens for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, the character has to be launched in a certain way before they can actually break, so they can't always break immediately, and this will lead the player to mash. And I think the game actually looks for when you're getting hit to do the breakaway. So you do have to actually time it, but a lot of players try to mash it, and that doesn't really work. So I think one nice change right away could be to make it to where holding the direction also works. So if you just hold down and block while being launched, the game will do breakaway as soon as it can on frame 1. That is how it used to work in a lot of past games like MK9 or MKX, so I think that could be a very nice change, just so the player gets breakaway a bit more often, and just in case a lot of players don't want this to happen, it could just be an option in the control settings, you turn it on or off. And I think one more really nice control setting would be to just change what the actual button is for breakaway, because how many times have you been launched by something because you crouched a bit too late and you got breakaway because you wanted to block low? So like Sub-Zero's slide or Cabal's standard projectile, that hits you, you get launched, and instead of crouch blocking, you get breakaway and lose every defensive option you have. That really sucks, so I think the option to change the breakaway button specifically would be really awesome. For me personally, I would just make it left trigger. We all know left trigger doesn't do very much unless you're knocked down, so I think having the option to change breakaway to left trigger would be a fantastic addition. Now with all of that said, even though breakaway can be a bit inconsistent, it is super strong against certain characters like Sindel. If Sindel is caught doing that whip and flip to end her combos, which is the most damaging way to end the combos, the opponent can actually drop and then get up to get a full combo punish. So maybe I get whiff punished by Sindel, she goes for a max combo, but then nope, I drop and get a full combo punish. And it could be much worse actually. I'm Jackie, so that's actually a counter hit crushing blow for a full combo. Or at least a more damaging combo, you get what I mean. And a lot of players have taken issue with this ever since day one, like way back when the game was first playable, even at the reveal event. They're like, man, I don't like how because I hit you, I'm now the one nervous because I'm wondering, will you break away or will you not? And you could go for an uppercut, and if they break away, that's the most damage you can get. But if they don't break away, then you just dropped your combo for no reason. And I understand the mentality here. It's like, why do I feel scared when I'm the one who got the hit? You should be the one scared. I landed the combo. Now I understand what NetherRealm was going with here. The idea was if you want to launch the opponent, they can break away. However, you can actually prevent the opponent from doing breakaway as long as you just don't launch them. The combos won't do as much damage, but you know the opponent has no chance to break away. And that was the theory, but here's the problem. Once again, I'll take control of Jackie. Certain characters have very good unbreakable combos, and you just can't escape. So that was 25%, but that's being nice. Certain characters like Jackie, Scorpion, and so on can easily get over 30% without the chance to break away. And what this essentially means is, if you're ever below that much health, I just win as Jackie. There's nothing you can do. So once again, I understand what NetherRealm was going for, but certain characters have very damaging combos that can't be escaped, while other characters can't get any damage at all unless they launch you. So with that in mind, I think it should be much tougher for the opponent to punish you by using breakaway. And there's a couple ways that could be done. One is a very simple fix, and the other one's a bit more complicated, but could actually be better if NetherRealm wants to code it. So the first option is to just make breakaway slower. So in other words, when you do breakaway, it takes about twice as long to reach the ground. That way, even if the opponent does go for a very punishable attack on whiff, they still have time to recover. So unless they do something ridiculously slow on recovery, the opponent still can't punish them for doing it. So that's idea number one, just make the breakaway drop a little bit slower, maybe twice as slow if you have to. And then idea number two is to make it to where when the opponent does breakaway, the person hitting them actually can't special cancel on hit. So in other words, if I'm playing Sindel, if I commit to forward 4 into down back 4, the down back 4 won't actually come out if I hit her during the breakaway state. Now of course this wouldn't work in every situation, because let's say instead I wanted to do this follow-up, which is 2-3. I want to do 2-3 whip and flip. Well, the problem is whip and flip is also the same button that ends the string, so even though I wouldn't get my special move, I would still get the final hit of the string, and that could possibly still be whiff punished. So that solution might not be the best idea, but that could be an interesting thing to try. Just make it to where if you hit the opponent during Breakaway, your character can't actually special cancel. That way you don't commit to a special move like Scorpion's Chain, or Whip and Flip, or any of the moves that are just super good for combos but very punishing when the opponent has their bar. The reality is Breakaway feels a bit too strong when you don't even have to earn it. The best way to actually get Breakaway is to just run away. Let's be real, you run away, you get your 2 bars, and when the opponent does finally open you up, you can just do Breakaway. And if they're a certain character, they never get damage unless they launch you. And those are my main 2 ideas for how to fix Breakaway, though I've seen a lot of people say, well, what if every character had a move like Spawn that just beat Breakaway and relaunch the opponent? That would be sick, but that'd be very tough to actually implement, because keep in mind that move also beats armor, so that means every character needs to have a universal armor breaking move, or at least one variation that has it. But if only one variation had it, that would make it like hands down the best variation, and you wouldn't see as much diversity at tournaments. So I don't think that's the solution either. And then one more idea was to make it to where Breakaway actually hits the person who's comboing you, so it knocks you out of whatever you're doing and you recover in time, that way the opponent can't punish you, which would be a bit similar to what Combo Breaker already did in past games where it knocked you away a little bit. That could also work, but one thing I actually do like about Breakaway is it leaves the opponent close. That's the only positive thing about Breakaway, is the opponent's right in your face, so you can throw or go for a mix-up, any number of things, and I like that. So I don't think either one of those changes are very likely to happen. I think the best idea would be to make it a lot slower on the way down. That's one really good change. And then possibly make it to where the opponent can't special cancel when they're doing Breakaway. That way they're just not stuck in recovery. And I'm sure there are plenty of more ideas that could be just as good, so please post any ideas you have in the comment section down below. And you know what? Next up, let's talk about jumping. So jumping can be a very big problem, especially in this game. Now, not for every character. Some characters have really good anti-airs, like a standing 1 or a really good uppercut if you're Jade, but the thing is, a lot of characters really don't have a very reliable anti-air. So for example, I'm going to tell Jackie to do like her elbow drop. I think her elbow drop's one of her best jump-ins. And look at that, it misses completely due to the angle at which she does that jump in, right? And certain characters have really good jumping kicks too. So the odds of me anti-airing with a standing 1 just isn't going to happen. And then on top of that, my down 2 is also pretty slow, so it may just get counter hit. I think one interesting change could be to make uppercuts like air invulnerable, which means if the opponent does any jump in at all outside of a special move, you're actually invulnerable to it when you do an uppercut. That could be interesting. I think it would lead to a lot less jumping. It might be a bit too strong though given the characters, so if they do that, I really do think certain characters like Joker and Jade should have much slower uppercuts, because my god, they have so much range. Sindel's actually makes a bit more sense. It's 13 and also has an arc to it, so it doesn't hit above her right away, even on frame 13. But certain characters like Joker and Jade are just too fast, so if they could anti-air with it even easier than they can already, that would be a bit too strong. But that could be a solution, right? Just to make the uppercuts air invulnerable. That could be really cool. And the same could also be done for like a standing 1 or a standing 2 or a standing 3. Just give every character a normal of some kind that makes them invulnerable to regular jump-in punches and kicks. That could be really, really awesome, because that would lead to a full combo. Because here's the thing, a lot of people don't get this. When people jump online, it's not just because they're new or they're bad at the game. What they're actually doing is minimalizing their risk and reward, believe it or not. I know it might not seem like it because jumping all the time seems so brain dead, but the reality is every time the opponent jumps, they know the worst they're gonna get is an uppercut from most players. Because some characters, once again, don't even have a good anti-air of any kind. So they can't combo, all they get is an uppercut. However, the opponent, if they land their jumping kick, is getting more damage than an uppercut depending on what character they're using. Because certain characters have really good conversions off their jumping kicks. Characters like Cabal, for example. If you wonder why Cabal jumps all the time, that's why. At worst, he gets uppercutted and that's it. But if he touches you, he gets no mad dash after the jump-in kick and a full combo. And the reality is, you're not going to anti-air him every single time. Every time you mistime it, he's going to get that full combo, which does not come out on block. So very low risk for him and very high reward. That's why a ton of players, even at higher level, just jump all the time. Because the risk is not that high and the reward is much higher still. So I think if every character had access to at least one anti-air that was completely air invulnerable to jumping kicks and jumping punches, that would be awesome, especially if it was universal. So like a regular normal attack and not special move specific, that would be fantastic. You would see a lot less jumping, and that would be a good thing because the main point of this game is neutral and footsies. And at high level, you see that. You see a lot of footsies, a lot of walking back and forth, and very little jumping because locally it's a bit easier to anti-air. But I feel like if jumping was just that much weaker, then you would see a lot more anti-airs and eventually a lot less jumping, which means way more footsies, way more whiff punishing, all that good stuff. So I think if every character had a decent anti-air, that would actually help the game a lot. And next up, let's talk about meter, because online, on forums, Reddit, Twitter, all that good stuff, I've seen a lot of ideas for how meter should work. Because a lot of people have issue with characters who don't have crazy mix-ups because you try really hard to be patient and finally get in and then whiff punish the opponent, but they've already built meter and they just break away. So once again, they run away, you chase them down, they stick out a button, you get a whiff punish, and then bam, they break away again because the meter builds on its own. So one idea was to have the meter build slower. I don't think that's necessarily a great idea because if the opponent does breakaway, it already builds pretty slow. Instead, I think that certain moves that use defensive bars should refill a bit slower because for anyone who's not aware, that is already the case. Certain things do make your meter refill at a slower rate. So for example, if I have Jackie do a get up roll, for example, everyone loves to do rolls on wake up, right? If she does a roll, the meter's not refilling very slow. Look at that. It's refilling quite quick. By the time you do a combo and the opponent drops back down to the ground, they've already got meter to roll again. Look at that. That's just crazy, right? So if you ever fought somebody online and wondered, oh my god, why do they keep rolling? They're rolling all the time. That's one of the reasons why. When they roll, the meter comes back pretty quickly. And once again, it may seem scrubby to roll all the time, but at worst, all they're risking is a throw. And throws do decent damage in this game, but not nearly as much damage as a full combo, so you best believe they're gonna roll because that's a much better idea than having to deal with any sort of 50-50 that could lead to a full combo. So if they're fighting Sub-Zero, for example, they're gonna roll every single time because that mix-up is just ridiculously tough to deal with, and each one's gonna do more damage with their combo than a roll ever could. So here's my ideas for a few solutions. One, I think the roll could just take longer to refill if you do it. Maybe twice as long, because at least that way the opponent's not rolling nearly as often and eventually they do have to deal with your pressure on wake up. That would be really cool. And then for idea number 2, just make the punish window a bit bigger on the roll, because it can be very tricky depending on the character. For Sindel it's a bit easier because her forward 4 hits twice, but as you can see it's kind of tough to actually punish that with any other move. Like if I wanted to do that, that wasn't a punish, she could have blocked there. So I think maybe increase the punish window, have them become vulnerable a lot sooner during the roll, so maybe like halfway through you can actually hit them. That way you can actually punish them when they go for a roll a lot easier and get your full combo, because once again, they're going to roll time and time again because they think the worst they're going to get is a throw. And that's not nearly as bad as a full combo. However, if their roll became vulnerable a bit sooner, it wouldn't be as tough to whiff punish them, and they would get comboed a lot more, and they'd think twice before just rolling all the time. So I think just something to make certain wake-ups a bit weaker, and maybe, you know, decrease the fill speed a little bit, but not too much for things like breakaway. And one more idea I also saw was to make it to where the players don't start with meter at the start of the match. They're actually empty, and they have to fill before you can do anything. Now, this could work for both the defense and offense. For me personally, I would only do it for the defensive bar because I love combos, and to me, a really good read at the start, like a flawless block, would be really sick. You get a full combo punish, that could be awesome. Or just having a combo right at the start could be really cool, and you would know at the start if you landed it, the opponent can't actually break away yet because they don't have meter. That could be really interesting, so I think the idea of not starting off with your meter could be really cool. But if it was up to me personally, I would let you have the offensive meter, just not the defensive meter. That way if you touch the opponent right at the very start of the match, you know they can't escape your combo. Oh, and real quick, just a minor personal gripe, I think delayed wake up should cost meter too, like defensive bar of some kind, because I hate that because I knocked you down and go for Oki right away, you can actually punish me. I think that's ridiculous, especially since when you get up, you're not actually vulnerable right away, you're still kind of invincible, which is weird. Like look at that, I can't actually tell when you're hittable as you're getting up, so either the opponent should become vulnerable the second they leave the ground, or if they do delayed wake up, I should still be able to hit them with certain moves that are really low, like a sweep or a low poke of some kind should still hit them. Just do something to make delayed wake up not as strong, because I swear that's all people do now. They just constantly do delayed wake up and it really throws off the flow of the match. So either it should cost meter, or I can hit them down there, or I can hit them earlier when they're getting up and they're not invincible for some weird reason because that just looks weird. Any number of things would be awesome. I just don't like how they can do delayed wake up and then stand up and then just jab right away or down one right away, and I'm not able to hit them right away, so they whiff punish me, all that weird stuff. I just wish delayed wake up was a bit weaker in some way, just a minor gripe. Okay, back to the big changes. So the final thing I wanted to talk about was the crushing blows. Now I'm not going to show any because I don't want this video to get demonetized, but I think we can all agree that crushing blows do way too much damage in some regards. And I think the most obvious one here is the throws. Throws already do a very chunky amount of damage in this game. They're more powerful than regular throws have ever been in a NetherRealm game, so they're already super strong. And then on top of that, they're 50-50, so you have to guess. And then on top of that, if you guess wrong, the game actually punishes you for even trying to break the throw. And then the crushing blow is just ridiculously punishing, like 30% for most characters, if not more. So I think for a lot of crushing blows that do that much damage, if it was up to me once again, I would just nerf it. I wouldn't have pretty much any crushing blow do more than 25%. I think that's already a ton, and then for throws, I think I would reduce it down to like 22% because that's still almost twice the damage you would get for a normal throw, and combine that with the first throw, that's already 40% damage. And then on top of that, some of the crushing blow requirements are just ridiculous, so I think if NetherRealm did an overhaul on some of the more ridiculously tough to get crushing blows, or even make the really simple crushing blows a bit tougher to get, or just reduce the damage on them for how easy they are, that could be really nice because I don't know about you, but I really hate it when I get a big life lead from doing some really cool combos and some sick reads, and the opponent just does a raw fatal blow, which is tough to react to, and then gets a lucky counter hit crushing blow and I'm dead. That can really frustrate me because at the end of the day they pressed 4 buttons. They did fatal blow, which is 2 buttons, and then a 2-button counter hit crushing blow and I'm dead. And meanwhile I did 2 combos that were like 10 hits each and I still lost, so that can feel very unsatisfying. So I think if NetherRealm just reduced the crushing blow damage on a lot of the crushing blows, or just universally as a rule, no crushing blow does more than 25%, that would be really nice because 25% for 2 buttons or just a single counter hit is already really good, so I think nerfing it could be really nice. And then on the flip side, some crushing blows like Scarlet's Back 2 don't do any damage and should actually do more. So in summary, one really nice change would be just to look at the crushing blows in general. If they do a lot of damage, maybe reduce it or make them a lot tougher to get, but I think just reducing the damage would be nice. And then if the crushing blow requirements are ridiculous, just make them a lot simpler. And once again, across the entire board, crushing blows should just do less damage. But honestly, that's about it for my ideas of how to improve Mortal Kombat 11, but please let me know in the comment section down below what steps you would take to make this game better. And then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, it really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.